From The View, they say, as Mediaite reporting, lock him up already. The View gets wild as hosts suggest Trump selling documents, predict he gets 10 years in prison. So I want to give you this context first. Here's what they say. I mean, short of this judge fundamentally screwing up the case, I don't see how he gets less than 5 to 10 years. He's literally in this. He discusses the contents of classified information with people without security clearances and then acknowledges he can't declassify since he's not president. Heavens! They got him. They got him. I knew that if we waited a day, the context around the leaked audio would come out and it would debunk the narrative. And lo, it has, from CBS News. Iran memo not among the 31 records underlying charges in Trump federal indictment. It would seem that the context around this story is actually relatively clear. Jack Posobiec tweets, DOJ claims Trump is on tape showing classified docs on July 21st. The docs have never been found. But 6 days before, on July 15th, the New Yorker had an article where Milley accused Trump of wanting to strike Iran. Is it possible he was just holding the article? Donald Trump had said that he had in his documents newspaper clippings and other things like that. In the audio, I can understand. Even I thought initially it does sound like he's holding these documents. Donald Trump said immediately of that recording, he's like, these are magazine clippings that I have. These are copies of news reports. Now it's all starting to become clear. Donald Trump did have classified documents to some degree or whatever at Mar-a-Lago. This was in Bedminster. They didn't find the documents. Why would Trump get rid of these but keep those? It makes no sense unless Trump not being charged with the Iran memo documents, the DOJ not finding Iran memo documents, a story coming out about Milley, and Donald Trump saying he was holding the story. Yeah, the most likely outcome is that Trump is sitting with this reporter and he's like, take a look at these papers. You know, this is what they give me. And he's pointing to a story from the New Yorker and he says, I should have declassified this. I can't now. He wasn't talking about classified documents. He was saying the proof behind the lies. He could have declassified and debunked the story. So it would seem that everything they're saying about locking up Trump, once again, just another, the walls are closing in, bombshell report, all lies as predicted.
Didn't, by the way, The View, like 2 days ago, in response to Hunter Biden's leaked WhatsApp messages, say that the true story of Hunter Biden and his father, Joe Biden's corruption was a story of a father's love for his son and overcoming addiction. So while that's their response to blatant corruption that we're actually seeing in leaked WhatsApp messages where Hunter is literally telling a Chinese official, I'm sitting here with my father, send us the money. That gets released, and instead, The View jumps on this story without the facts. It all crumbles, as it always does, and we play the same reel over and over and over again.
I want to pull up the document from the Trump indictment. Take a look at this. This is how corrupt the DOJ is. They say that Trump, when no longer was president, gave an interview at the office of Bedminster, blah, blah, blah. He was recorded with Trump's knowledge and consent. Before the interview, the media published reports at the end of Trump's term. A senior military official purportedly feared that Trump might order an attack on country A. Take a look at Trump's quote. We now know senior military official is Milley. We know country A is Iran. Trump said, well, with Milley, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? Whoa, 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 whoa. If Donald Trump was holding a classified document, the document would not read, Milley accuses Trump of wanting to attack Iran. It would say, proposal for attack on Iran. Or Donald Trump, you know,
Milley's reasons not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would say like, it would be a document explaining. Instead, Trump says, I'll show you an example. He said I wanted to attack Iran. And then you have the New Yorker story. Milley says Trump wanted to attack Iran. It is actually kind of clear based on what Trump said. He's talking about a news report. They're just lying about everything. And here we are once again having to call this out. Now, look, I'll say this. It's entirely possible. It's not absolute. Maybe this goes to court and they're like, no, actually, it really was a document, but they have no document. They found no document. Trump says there was no document. The story just come out. This is insane.
Yeah, sometimes you have to take the simplest explanation, which is that the left-wing media wants Trump to be a terrible person. And I think, obviously, without context, you can frame anything anybody says to give it a negative light. But in this case, all you needed was very slight information to make it clear what was going on.
The way I describe it is like, imagine there's some kid playing Grand Theft Auto and he's talking about his plans. And then you take a recording of a kid playing GTA, and it will sound like this kid's like going to be a mass shooter, like a maniac, talking about stealing cars and kidnapping people, and you're like, oh man, someone's got to stop this kid. And then you go in his room, and it's just some 12-year-old kid playing GTA. This is basically what they do. Because no one can see what Trump is actually doing, they twist the context. Listen to the paperwork. Trump's saying he could have declassified these papers. He was talking about the story behind the story. Yeah. The documents behind the story could have been declassified. He can't do it now because he's not in office. He doesn't have the documents anymore.
But go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and the problem, even for the left that loves to jump on any stuff like this, it's the boy who cried wolf at this point. So everybody's assumption anytime anything like this gets quote unquote exposed is that it's just another bureaucratic nonsense. The left's coming after Trump, and Trump probably didn't actually do anything that was wrong. And this is another one of those examples where it looks potentially bad because they're only revealing part of the story. And so part of the problem is nobody trusts our institutions anymore. So it's the same thing now we're seeing with actual corruption with the president that's in office.
To be fair, can we really call The View our institution?
No, we can't.
That's a group of empty-headed people.
Yes.
But it's been around for a long time. A lot of people watch it, I think. I'm not totally sure.
There are a lot of wine moms that have nothing to do.
And that's where they're getting their information. So now they're hearing that Trump obviously 100% did terrible thing, and they won't look for the nuance. I think that's the biggest thing.
White women must be stopped.
We're crazy. What can I say?
Can I play this 20-second clip from Family Guy to help you guys understand The View? This is important context, and I'm providing commentary on this clip. So I want you all to watch this clip. Can we get the audio? Yeah, audio's on the wrong channel.
Hey, Stewie, 3 o'clock. Time for The View. No, not again! Let me out of here! I can't watch another second!
So my favorite part of the gag is when the woman bucks and then she gets up and there's an egg and the camera zooms in on the egg. Very, very well done joke, Family Guy. That's basically what The View is. So fair point, Phil. We can't call The View one of our institutions.
But it is sad that all of our actual institutions don't look that different than The View. New York Times is posting pretty much the same content. The DOJ says the same thing The View says on the same days. It's insane.
You're 100% right, and it's something that I've talked about before. It's not just something like The View and the New York Times. It goes to Teen Vogue. So it's like not just about one narrative coming from one perspective or whatever. Why would Teen Vogue have the same kind of stories that GQ runs?
Yeah.
And they really do. They all come from the same perspective.
But hold on. Remember when Teen Vogue ran that like Marx Puff piece?
Yeah.
Like what's going on at Teen Vogue?
Commies everywhere.
Communists.
Teen Vogue ran a what to do to help your friend who just had an abortion, and they suggested you get funny movies and pins that support Planned Parenthood. Teen Vogue is a classic. They're really helpful and they're helping. But they pass it off as, well, we are making news palatable to younger readers so we can raise more informed people. But we only want them to be informed in our perspective, and that's effectively what all of these institutions do, right? They don't want you to follow. No one is going to issue a correction. The View is not going to come out and be like, turns out there was more context, we jumped to conclusions. They're just going to pretend like they were right all along, or like this never happened until they think they have some sort of actual evidence. I mean, compare this leaked audio to actual WhatsApp messages. One is clear and one is taken out of context.
They're propagandists, and they're literally, thirsty for just a drop of some way to cast Trump as the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the problem with what that exact scenario you just laid out is that anybody that actually reports the WhatsApp messages with Hunter Biden is now labeled conservative media. Right. So it's like, no, we're not conservative media. This is just objectively what happened. The vice president's son is literally texting this Chinese official saying, we've got your money but now if you report that, you're seen as right wing. So like, I know people real well in my life that were like 80s blue dog Democrats that were taught to trust our institutions. You listen to CNN, you watch these shows, you read Time magazine, and that's supposed to be the reliable forums. Well, now anytime anybody's reporting the truth, they write it off because it's like, well, no, that's conservative right-wing news, and I don't want to get involved in the political divide. So they just take whatever the regime is saying because they have these mouthpieces, and they never actually get exposed to the truth. That's why when you tell people like, hey, Biden actually said this, they're like, nah, that wouldn't be real, or else I would have known about it.
There's a lot of that going on. And it's been going on for a long time. When I think it was 2000. 2018 or something like that. I was talking about Biden had said that he was going to come after rifles. There were AKs and AR-15s, and friends of mine that are pretty left-leaning were swearing up and down, no they don't, no they don't, no he didn't. And I'm like, I literally had to send them links, and they were like, they actually had to be like, wow, okay, well, that's a terrible idea for him to say that because he's gonna. I'm like, well, yeah, but you don't know even what the people that you ostensibly are going to be voting for are saying. So where do how can you consider yourself an informed voter? So
did you have a moment where you stopped trusting the media? Like, do you remember?
Oh yeah, but it was a long time ago.
But what was it? Tell me.
A yellow cake.
What was that?
Yellow cake uranium in Iraq. That was when I was like, okay, because initially, like when I was young, I kind of thought Bill Clinton was cool. He played sax and smoked pot, and
He
I was
was a
like,
hip guy.
that was my, I was a kid, and so I thought he was all right. And then when it came out that he had, lied under oath and stuff and impeachment, I figured that he was going to get removed from office because the president's supposed to be held to higher standards. And then when he wasn't, I was like, oh, well, then that means that, and this is a simple-minded take, I understand, but I was young. That means the Democrats are the lying party and the Republicans are the party that tells the truth. And then we went to, 8 years later, we were in Iraq, and I'm like, wait a minute, they both lie, so I can't trust any of them. And the media had sold both of them as acceptable arguments, and I just felt like they're
unfortunately, the Libertarian Party is the party where the guy takes his pants off on stage and then they start arguing about selling drugs to kids,
or walks around with a boot on his head.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.